Need your help. We need to find out who's telling the truth. Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Today is November 9th, 2015. This is show 115, and the name of the show is Carson, Carly, and Cruz. Now I know you're gonna think they're a new rock band, right? No. Well, we're gonna show you Carson, Carly, and Cruz are a bunch of conservatives, and they're not a rock group. They've got some Stone Age ideas, and that's what the show is gonna be about tonight. Now, I'm sure that everybody is aware of the scrutiny that Ben Carson has been put under. And, he's being bashed for lying, for storytelling. He wrote a book, and most of the stuff just doesn't seem to be factual. So everybody's going at him from all different angles, and they're trying to prove that he's a liar. But you know what, guys? On Who's Telling the Truth, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to take the high road. That's right. We're not going to get into the fray. We're going to take the high road, and what we're going to do is we're going to use science. That's right. We're going to use science to prove our point. What they're doing now with Carson, it's hard to prove. But with science, with something that's repeatable, predictable, that's testable, we're going to get answers with that. And what are we going to do it on? We're going to do it on creationism, guys. And why? Because Ben Carson is a creationist. So, Judy, let's tease the audience and just give them a little taste of what's to come. Let's have clip number 1, please.
This whole creation evolution controversy has been raging on really since the beginning. Because what is Satan's plan?
Plan? Come on. So not only do we have an invisible friend in the sky, now we have an invisible enemy in the sky. But guys, we're going to have a lot of fun with this. But, you're going to say, well, Rich, what about Carly Fiorini? What's the beef with her? And guys, she was asked to come up with a detailed tax plan. And this was her response for a detailed tax plan. So Judy, clip number 2, please.
So in other words, words on a piece of paper are more accountable than words said to people looking them in the eye? I don't think so. I don't think that's what voters think.
What? Words on a piece of paper is not what the voters want? That's exactly what we want. That's why we say relentlessly on this show, be specific and name your source. Well, we know what your source is. Your source is you. So all we want you to do is be specific and put it in writing. Can't get any more, you tell somebody something, they hear it differently, or you could say you said it differently when you put it in writing. There's no excuse. But guys, the third part is Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz doesn't believe in global warming. Well, guys, global warming is not like a religion where you believe in it or you don't believe in it. You look at the data, and the data tells us everything we need to know. And you know what, guys? The data doesn't lie. Politicians do, but the data never lies. So, Judy, let's show everybody what we have planned with clip number 3 for Cruz.
The satellite data demonstrate that there has been no significant warming whatsoever for 17 years. Now that's a real problem for the global...
Ted, that's going to be a real problem for you tonight. Because I tell you, we're going to rip you a new one and we're going to have fun doing it. And guys, you know, we come to the table, we come with our facts, with our data, and we're going to show you some charts tonight. You know, we're going to cross the T's and we're going to dot the I's, because that's what we do on this show. I mean, that's what we do. But before we start slinging the mud, guys, you know, we like to start off with a little fun. And we're going to start off, this is the second week in a row now, with a clip from Lee Camp. And guys, he did a thing. Now remember, I said Lee Camp is going to be the next Jon Stewart. And I mean this. And when you watch this clip tonight, you're going to get all the taste and the flavor of how Jon Stewart did it. I mean, he's got a different style, but you can see the writing is similar and the way they do things. So guys, Lee Camp did a thing on the billionaires and the Koch brothers, and I watched the interview with Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, and I want to tell you, Lee Camp did such a good job. So, you know, like I say on this show, before a good comedy clip, smoke if you got 'em. So, Judy, let's have clip number 4, please. Enjoy, guys.
Welcome back. The Koch brothers. They're 2 of the richest human beings on the planet, with around $100 billion, most of it from oil. If that money were used for good instead of evil, it could provide clean water to the world 10 times over. It could end world hunger 3 times over. It could take all of the 16.5 million poor children in this country and hire them their own high-end escort to take them to Disney World for a week. Yeah! How cool is that? For a week. The Koch brothers' network influence over think tanks, politicians, judges, media outlets, and universities is said to be almost as extensive as the entire Republican Party. And this week, they gave a rare interview in which MSNBC's Joe Scarborough ended up with carpal tunnel syndrome from cheering for them.
I know that you have worked hard with your brother to elect Republicans. Are you about to get discouraged and get out of politics again?
Hold on.
Okay, now.
You've worked hard
You know
with
we're coming
Republicans.
back with clip
Those
number
the
11.
words worked hard are code that means spent a shit ton of money. And the words elect Republicans are code for put in place people who do whatever you want.
I don't care what party. I just want somebody who's going to advance these ideas to take us away from this 2-tiered system, getting involved in all sorts of unproductive things and all this waste.
Wait a second, Charles, or Chucky. Can I call you Chucky? Chucky, when Chucky says waste, he means things like Social Security and health care for the poor and all that stuff. That's waste to him because it doesn't make him richer. That is all that matters because he is a sociopath. And when he says he's just looking for somebody to advance these ideas, that sounds good. That's ideas. That sounds nice. Keep in mind, Hitler had ideas. All right, Pol Pot had ideas. Lorena Bobbitt had ideas. It depends on what the ideas are.
David said some nice words about Walker.
Right.
And that was written up that we were giving millions to his campaign.
Right, the
you know
next
how
day.
much we've given to his campaign?
I hope none.
0.
Okay. Hey,
Whoa, evil Redenbacher. By zero, he means millions. The Kochs have funded Scott Walker for years through their organizations like Americans for Prosperity. You see, when the Kochs donate to a cancer hospital or something like that, they run around and go, we gave to that cancer hospital, change the name of the hospital to Kochi McCokerton, fully erect Coke, all right? But when they give millions to climate change denial or evil politicians, they put on a mustache and go, my name is Americans for Prosperity.
that's not a way to run a democracy, is it? Like 150 families are basically funding most of the presidential campaign?
Well, you see, to me, it depends on to what end.
Does it depend to what end? Listen, Don Knotts Corleone. So it's not okay for 150 families to own our democracy unless it's for the things you want.
It's because the government's picking winners and losers.
Winners and losers. This is the guy who funded the Citizens United decision in the Supreme Court. He has won the right to dump millions into political campaigns so that he can pick the winners and losers.
We won't have 2-year presidential campaigns because people that will realize it's more important to run their own lives rather than try to control part of government.
Wait a second, zombie Jack Lemmon. He just said, stop worrying about the government. Stop voting. We'll take it from here. That's also why the Kochs funded vote purging and voter ID laws to kick people off the voter rolls. And then something interesting happened. Mika Brzezinski accidentally asked a real question.
But aren't you still getting caught up in the in the same cycle of buying influence?
No. Well, so far we're largely failures at it, as you can tell.
You're practically the fucking richest family in the world! How is that a failure? And furthermore, his response to "Are you buying influence?" was, "We're trying!" But it turns out other people who are not us are still making decisions.
I'm kind of like Martin Luther when he was on trial, and he said, "Here I stand, I can do no other." I mean, I dedicate my life to this.
Yeah, you're Martin f***ing Luther. And Rupert Murdoch is St. Thomas Aquinas. Next, Chucky brought in his brother, Dr. Strangelove.
In fact, when I first joined the company, we had just $6 million revenue. And now, here it is, years later, our revenue is $2 billion. So we've done very well there.
Did you honestly just say $2 billion? This interview is going great, Pinky in the Brain.
It's hard to find people in New York, liberals, we were talking about this before, liberals or conservatives alike, who haven't been touched by your graciousness.
Get a fucking room! Joe, you have something on your nose there and all over your face. I would say get your head out of your ass, but get your head out of their asses. Look, fluff jobs like this interview serve a purpose. They make us go, oh, the Koch brothers are okay. They're just like Grandpa. Yeah, they're like your grandpa. If your grandpa were the love child of a three-way between Dr. Strangelove, Old Man Potter, and the recent WHO report that bacon causes cancer. That's how evil those two are. And even though I don't eat meat, I remember how good bacon is, all right? I'm still human.
Do a beautiful job. And you know, Dave Straight, and remember, we did the show, you can go back to show 111. Dave Straight claims to have worked with one of the Koch brothers, and he claims to have sat at the same table with him once a week. But he claims it. I don't know if it's true or not. And you know, we haven't seen Dave since we did this show. I think we knocked him off the air. You know, sometimes, you know, guys, when you humiliate somebody, what happens is they turn over a new leaf. You know, they have a vision. They've seen the light. And guys, I think that's what happened to Dave. Dave said, I'm not going to do my show anymore. Hey, but I do have one thing to say to everybody. I do have one thing to say. On Marty's last show, Marty put up a clip about the cop. It turned out he ended up killing himself, and he tried to make a big scam about it. And, you know, they were searching for people, 2 white guys and a black guy, and they had, half the world was looking for these 3 guys. Well, it turns out the guy killed himself, and he was into a lot of bad stuff in his family and everything, and Marty stood behind the guy. Well, guys, This week when they proved the guy was all full of poop, the first thing Marty said on his show was he wanted to disavow any knowledge of any friendship, and he said, whatever these people got coming to them, I hope they get. So Marty, it was nice of you to man up and stand up like a gentleman, and when you got something wrong, it's nice that you rectified the situation. Not like your buddies, not like your buddies that just can't man up. Why? I don't know. You're gonna find it's very liberating once you start telling the truth. It's really refreshing. It's a very noble idea. Conservatives should try it. All right, now, guys, we're gonna show you the clip of Ted Cruz. And he's gonna talk about his climate denial. And the one thing that I really want you to do is, as you're watching the clip, I want you to think about what Cruz is saying and what he's getting wrong. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come back and play the clip in little segments. And we can talk about, what Cruz had to say and how he got it wrong. And guys, if anybody wants to call, Judy, can you put up the number? We have the phone lines open, so you guys can, during the clip, we'll try to get the phone line up. But guys, we're gonna do this new section and we're gonna name this segment, Scaring the Simple Folks. So Judy, can you bring up, there you go. And guys, I want you to pay close attention to the way we spelled simple, because, normally I put it in quotes. But these are the type of people that we're dealing with. And a lot of them, a lot of times the elevator doesn't go to the top. So once again, we're going to play the entire clip, listen carefully, listen to what he's getting wrong, and then we're going to come back, we're going to play it in segments. Judy, nice job with the phone number. And you can call in if you'd like. So Judy, let's have clip number 11, please.
You said yesterday that you wanted millions of young voters to turn out, but you just said you're against pot, you're against gay marriage, you don't believe that global warming is man-made. Those are issues that, if you look at the polls, young people are completely have a different view of that. Are you out of step with most young voters, and how do you convince them given that?
Well, let me take one of the components of your question and address it directly, then let me address your broader question. You mentioned global warming. I'm a big believer that we should follow the science and follow the evidence. If you look at global warming alarmists, they don't like to look at the actual facts and the data. The satellite data demonstrate that there has been no significant warming whatsoever for 17 years. Now that's a real problem for the global warming alarmists, because all of the computer models on which this whole issue was based predicted significant warming, and yet the satellite data show it ain't happening.
But what if there is something to it? I mean, let's say, a lot of people say the science is clear. Most people say the science is clear. But let's say that it's not. Let's say it's not clear. Why not do everything we can to reduce our carbon footprint? Wouldn't that be good to have some humility about it and maybe think?
Okay, let's talk about having humility. I read this morning a Newsweek article from the 1970s. Talking about global cooling. And it said the science is clear, it is overwhelming, we are in a major cooling period, and it's going to cause enormous problems worldwide. And the solution for all the advocates in the 70s of global cooling was massive government control of the energy sector, of our economy, and aspects of our lives. Now, the data proved to be not backing up that theory, so then all the advocates of global cooling suddenly shifted to global warming. And they advocated it's warming, and the solution, interestingly enough, was the exact same solution: government control of the energy sector and every aspect of our lives. But then the data don't back that up. So if you notice, the term has shifted, and now suddenly it's climate change. And climate change, and again, the solution is government control of the energy sector and every aspect of our lives. And when someone keeps proposing the same solution regardless of the problem, you start to think maybe they just like government control of the energy sector and every aspect of our lives. And I am the child of two mathematicians and scientists. I believe in following evidence and data. On the global warming alarmists, anyone who actually points to the evidence that disproves their apocalyptical claims, they don't engage in reasoned debate. What do? They scream, "You're a denier." They brand you a heretic. You know, it is, today the global warming alarmists are the equivalent of the flat earthers. You know, it used to be, it is accepted scientific wisdom, the earth is flat, and this heretic named Galileo was branded a denier. And you know what? There are an awful lot of people making a whole lot of money. Al Gore has made millions of dollars off of global warming, and a lot of these scientists who are most vocal about it are receiving massive grants on this theory that the data are not backing up. And you ask, well, why shouldn't we do everything? You know, we shouldn't be causing millions of hardworking men and women to have their energy bills go through the roof. It causes real harm and suffering when people all across this country lose jobs because the federal government wants to take control of aspects of our lives. It causes real suffering when when single moms who are trying to feed their kids see their energy bills skyrocket because politicians are imposing massive costs, and that's not something we should do lightly.
All right, so guys, you got a good taste of what he had to say, and I'm sure you've got some really good questions. But what we're going to do is we're going to play the first part of the clip, and I want you to think about it, and then if anybody wants to call in, but Judy, so let's have clip number 12, please.
You said yesterday that you wanted millions of young voters to turn out, but you just said, you know, you're against pot, you're against gay marriage, you don't believe that global warming is man-made. Those are issues that if you look at the polls, young people are completely have a different view of that. Are you out of step with most young voters, and how do you convince them given that?
Well, let me take one of the components of your question and address it directly, then let me address your broader question.
Oh boy, here comes the BS. Well, guys, the interviewer asked him, he said, Cruz, you're against pot, you're against gay marriage, and you're against man-made global warming. And Cruz thinks that young people are going to vote for him? What is he, nuts? Now, the interviewer said he thought that Cruz was out of step. He's not out of step. He's out of his mind. It's that simple. And I tell you, when you've got 3 strikes and you expect young people to vote for you, and you're against weed and gay marriage and global warming, you ain't getting nobody's vote. Not even the simple folk are going to vote for you. All right, now let's take it one step further. Judy, let's have clip number 13, please.
Young voters, and how do you convince them given that?
Well, let me take one of the components of your question and address it directly, then let me address your broader question. You mentioned global warming. I'm a big believer that we should follow the science and follow the evidence. If you look at global warming alarmists, that they don't like to look at the actual facts and the data. The satellite data demonstrate that there has been no significant warming whatsoever for 17 years. Now that's a real problem for the global warming alarmists because all of the computer models on which this whole issue was based predicted significant warming, and yet the satellite data show it ain't happening.
But what?
Okay, now, first of all, guys, we don't rely on computer models. We don't use computer models. We measure stuff. That's the way we do it. So right away, Cruz is off base. Now, he says there's been no significant satellite increase. Guys, the 14 warmest years on record have happened in this century. What does that tell you? And every statistic is significant. especially when you get to the quantum level. The smaller, I mean, when you have a decimal point with 10 zeros and a 1, that's significant. It's a statistic. And guys, now Cruz said there's been no warming in 17 years. Why did he use the 17 years? Judy, can you bring up the next still, please? Number 13A. Guys, take a look at this chart. The reason why Cruz went back 17 years, if you look on the chart, you'll see where it says El Nino warming. And look at the red line. That's your running average. That's a 13-month running average. So you'll see back in 1998, the average temperature was equal to what it was back then. This was done back on 2011. But you can see he's drawing a line from the red mark underneath the El Nino warming all the way to the right-hand side of the chart. And he's saying the world hasn't warmed up in those 17 years. Well, guys, what would happen? That's what's called cherry picking. See, he's picking that one highest point and he's comparing it with this point now. So then he says, see, there's been no warming. Now, what would have happened if he would have moved it back to 1993, where you see on the chart it says Mount Pinatubo cooling? So if you would take it all the way to at the very bottom where the red line is and draw a line from there to 2011 now, you would say, Judy, can you come back to me? You would say, holy mackerel, the world has never gotten warmer quicker. And guys, the one thing that we love and the one thing that NASA does better than anybody else is collect data. And the data doesn't lie, but the politicians do. And guys, this is a chart for the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere. And you could see it. I always get screwed up when I do this. You could see where it never went above this line until, oh man, is this hard to do. So anyway, and then let me show you another chart. And guys, look at this. It's off. Look at what's happened. Telephone call. Okay. Who's telling the truth? You're on. What? Hello? You're off. Hello? Ay, ay, ay. All right, I apologize. Whoever's calling in, I'm sorry. It's so hard to do this backwards. But guys, you could see the chart here. And you could see, you could see how the markets left the chart. That's too confusing. But guys, what I'm trying to say here is, when NASA collects the data, that's the one thing that they're most proud of. And nobody's trying to screw the data up. He's doing what's called cherry picking, and he's trying to mislead you. And why? Because he's not a scientist. Well, I think he is a scientist. He's just trying to mislead you. And this is the problem. You know, he wants to be elected president, and he's trying to mislead everybody. Why? Why would you do that? Guys, it's really simple. The Koch brothers demand it. The Koch brothers paid for Cruz.
I'm on the phone.
Oh, well, hello. Go ahead, we're listening.
I have a question for you.
That's what we're here for.
Good. When you said about the data, and you said that they don't use computer models,
that's
where
right.
do you think the data is used? How do you think it's utilized? What do they do with the data?
What do the climate models that you're referring to are primarily projections.
Right, which are mathematical models.
Yeah, but they're project. Now think about what happened last year. Think about the snowstorm that New York City was supposed to get. and it missed us by 50 miles. But look at what it did to Boston. It destroyed Boston.
Yeah.
And that's why we don't use computer models. What we do is we use things that we can measure.
Right, but what models do you think they use when you say data? Do they evaluate each data point? What do they use to look at the data? Each data point, or do they group them?
No, NASA uses many, many different sources. They use satellites, they use buoys.
Back to the data points.
They use all different types of data. But what they're doing is, you don't want to confuse a projection with something that you can measure.
Right, but if you measure it, what do you do with each of those measurements? How do you utilize them?
Well, you take the averages, and then you'll see that the average is going up. It's pretty simple. You know, the thermometers don't lie.
Okay, just simple mathematical averages?
Well, how would you think they would do it? You think they ask, fairies and unicorns to give them the data?
No, I think that they use various mathematical strategies, looking at the data, trying to put them into linear models, quadratic models, cubic models, logarithmic models.
You know, you're raising a good point. You know what? I'll tell you what. If you wanted to go online, you could look up NASA yourself, and I'm sure they would give you all the answers. You know,
But I just want you to understand that they are using models, and don't confuse models with something that's obscuring the truth. All models are some sort of projection.
No. This, let me show you something. This is not a model. This is the temperature. This is the world temperature of the Earth. Now, you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to see that where we're going is to never, it won't be long before we're Mars. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar, you don't have to be a genius. And this
How many data points did they use?
I don't know. You can go online and look it up. If you want to start getting nitpicky, how many data points, what difference does it make? Here's the chart. If you want to argue with NASA, argue with them. But thanks for calling. We'll talk to you later. All right, guys, you know what? You can be a denier. You can be in doubt. You know, you could try to pretend you know what you're talking about. But when you start to question NASA and you start to question science, something ain't right. And what's wrong? It's that your ideology. You're politically involved. And that's why you deny the science. And why are you politically involved? Because you got people like the Koch brothers that are spending $800 million on this coming election. More than either party. And why? Because they want to buy the government. And what do? You stand behind the Koch brothers with this nonsense, statistical significance and all. Where are you getting your data points from? Come on, let's be grown up about this, you know? There ain't no Santa Claus, kid. It's that simple. All right, now we're going to go to the next clip. So, Judy, let's get back there. And we're going to show you clip number 14. And we're going to continue to put salt in the wound because we got our act together. So, Judy, let's have number 14, please. No, we want the video, Judy.
And yet the satellite data show it ain't happening.
But what if there is something to it? I mean, let's say, a lot of people say the science is clear. Most people say the science is clear. But let's say that it's not. Let's say it's not clear. Why not do everything we can to reduce our carbon footprint? Wouldn't that be good to have some humility about it and maybe think?
Okay, let's talk about having humility. I read this morning a Newsweek article from the 1970s. Talking about global cooling. And it said the science is clear, it is overwhelming, we are in a major cooling period, and it's going to cause enormous problems worldwide. And the solution for all the advocates in the 70s of global cooling was massive government control of the energy sector, of our economy, and aspects of our lives. Now, the data proved to be not backing up that theory, so then all the advocates of global cooling suddenly shifted to global warming. And they advocated it's warming, and the solution, interestingly enough, was the exact same solution: government control of the energy sector and every aspect of our lives. But then the data don't back that up. So if you notice, the term has shifted, and now suddenly it's climate change. And climate change, and again, the solution is government control of the energy sector and every aspect of our lives. And when someone keeps proposing the same solution regardless of the problem, you start to think maybe they just like government control of the energy sector.
Now, guys, you know, if you go back to the time Marty and I had the debate, Marty said the same thing. He used the old, you know, double reverse with the Newsweek magazine. Guys, Newsweek magazine is not a peer-reviewed journal written by climate scientists. You know, it's a magazine to sell magazines. So what do they want to do? They want to put something on the cover that'll sell it. And you guys use this and you think that it's a science article. It's not. It's not. They bamboozled you. And did you notice what Cruz did here? 4 times, 4 different times, he said the government is trying to take control. And this is, you know, and this is what happens. You get people like Marty. The government's going to take control. They're going to raise the rates. They're going to raise the rates on my electricity. They're going to take away my freedoms. Nobody's taking anything from you. The only thing that we're going to take away is the freedom of the Koch brothers and the fossil fuel industry. We're going to take away their freedom to put carbon in the air without paying for it. Do you have a problem with that? These are the extraneous costs that they've been able to get away with since 1980, since they knew they were causing a problem. But you know what? The shareholders don't want to know that. All they want to know is profit. And this is what happens. So what do? You scare the simple folk by telling them that the government is going to take away their freedoms and is going to control, and the government's going to control them and make them pay higher prices for electricity. Guys, please stop it. We showed you the one show we did on Georgia, Texas, where Georgia, Texas went out of their way and they went completely fossil fuel free. They get all their electricity from solar and wind. The first community in the United States. And if you watch the show on a regular basis, you'd know that. All right, now we're going to do the last clip in this Cruz debacle, and this is number 15. So, Judy, let's have that clip, please.
Slight government control of the energy sector and every aspect of our lives. And I am the child of 2 mathematicians and scientists. I believe in following evidence and data. On the global warming alarmists, anyone who actually points to the evidence that disproves their apocalyptical claims, they don't engage in reasoned debate. What do? They scream, "You're a denier." They brand you a heretic. You know, it is
all
today
right, now
the global warming alarmists.
We're going to go with the
equivalent
O2 again.
of the flat earthers.
Okay, and then we're going to go to 21.
You know, it used to be, it is accepted scientific
21.
wisdom, the earth is flat, and this heretic named Galileo was branded
But we're on the
denier.
last one now, right?
And you know what? There are an awful lot of people making a whole lot of money. Al Gore has made millions of dollars off of global warming, and a lot of these scientists who are most vocal about it are receiving massive grants on this theory that the data are not backing up. And you ask, well, why shouldn't we do everything? You know, we shouldn't be causing millions of hardworking men and women to have their energy bills go through the roof. It causes real harm and suffering when people all across this country lose jobs because the federal government wants to take control of aspects of our lives. It causes real suffering when when single moms who are trying to feed their kids see their energy bills skyrocket because.
So his parents were scientists, and they never taught him how to be a critical thinker. Isn't that a shame? Or either that, and he's a critical thinker, and he's just lying. I mean, you make the decision. I mean, he's an educated guy. He's a bright guy. I have a feeling he's not telling the truth. That's why we do our show. But guys, he said, the scientists want to get massive grants. That's why the scientists keep saying that global warming's happening. Guys, think about that for a second. If the scientists really wanted to keep the grants coming in, what would they do? They would tell you that global warming isn't happening. They need more time to study. They need more money. We need more work. They wouldn't say it's conclusive and it's happening. So please stop with this grant stuff. You know what I mean? You shoot yourself in the foot. And Uncle Joey, I tell you, Uncle Joey, when we were online, I tried to explain this to him, but of course he won't understand it. And why? Because he's a conservative. He doesn't want to understand it. There's only one thing he wants to know, and that's what the Republican Party tells him. All right, now we're going to continue to have fun, and we're going to start with Carly Fiorini. And this is going to be very short. So Judy, can we have clip number 2, please?
So in other words, words on a piece of paper are more accountable than words said to people looking them in the eye? I don't think so. I don't think that's what voters think.
Guys, once again, when you put something in writing, you can't deny it. That's why we want stuff published. But I mean, you don't have to go crazy where it has to be peer reviewed. Just tell us what you're going to do. Put it in black and white and hand it to us. And you know what? Let us make the decision. But not why? You're going to pull this henhouse crap where you're going to, well, that's not what I said. I really meant this. And no, put it in writing. We'll take a look. So, Judy, let's have the full clip so everyone can see that we're not trying to pull the old double reverse. Let's have 21, please. Okay, what about 22?
Welcome back. We've already heard from 3 of the main outsider candidates for president today. Yesterday, I caught up with another, the former CEO of Hewlett-Packard, Carly Fiorina, and I asked her why she is one of just 2 candidates who have yet to release a detailed tax plan, or frankly, any policy plans on her website. Here's her answer.
Well, let me disagree with the premise of your question. How often do politicians put out detailed plans? How often do they get enacted? Never. That's the problem. Politicians put out detailed plans for all kinds of things. It never happens. But if you go to the carlyforpresident.com website, what you can do is ask a question, and you will see me answering the question in public, verbally. In other words, I am being held accountable. A plan, anybody can write a plan. Well, anybody can put a plan on a website. It's another thing to say, you know what I think we need to do, and say it over and over again in public and be held accountable for this. You know what I think we need to do? We need to go from a 73,000 page tax code, which is what we have today, with 4,000 changes since 2001. We need to get it down to about 3. And what that means is we need to close every loophole and lower every rate.
Well, show us what you're going to do.
Maybe there are 2 or 3 loopholes.
But how do we trust?
But that is what I'm going to do.
Well, show us.
But that is what I'm going to do.
Show us your work.
So in other words, words on a piece of paper are more accountable than words said two people looking them in the eye? I don't think so. I don't think that's what voters think. Because I think voters have gotten smart enough to know that plans and papers, 50-point plans, 10-point plans, 5-point plans, are written by a bunch of advisors and consultants. So I'm perfectly prepared to be held accountable for my words and my plans. And I would encourage your viewers to go on the website and ask any question they want.
So we shouldn't expect a tax plan out of you anytime soon, on paper.
I've given you a tax plan. I've given you a tax plan. It needs to be 3 pages. And the only way to get there is to lower every rate.
Guys, she wants to be president? Holy, I mean, that was scary. I mean, I don't know if, hey, you watched the same thing I did. I mean, she's scary. And guys, Judy, I apologize. 21 was because we took number 2. So that was, but anyway. Guys, now we're gonna have some more fun. We got a clip from Bill Maher, and Bill Maher is gonna trash smart, stupid people. And guess who's gonna be one of the smart, stupid people? You got it, Ben Carson. So Judy, let's have clip number 31.
Bring this up because there is a phenomenon happening lately that's really bugging me, and it's the resurgence of the smart, stupid person. Now, the smart, stupid person is not new. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle was a smart, stupid person. He was a surgeon, and he created Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. So he was not only smart, he was way ahead of his time on gay marriage. But he also believed in fairies, the other kind. Dr. William Mackenzie King was a smart, stupid person. He was the Prime Minister of Canada for 22 years and held 5 degrees, and he believed he could speak to the spirits of his 2 dead Irish terriers. Which is why Canada was always declaring war on squirrels. Which brings me back to the Proof of Heaven book and its author, Dr. Eben Alexander, and the question of how a neurosurgeon of all people could say he made a day trip to heaven while in a coma, when his scientific training, not to mention every other scientist in the world, is telling him, no, dude, you were just tripping. Those coma drugs are some good shit. Well, that's the scientific explanation. You heard that, right? I didn't just...
I
okay.
did.
For a minute, I thought I was tripping.
That came from heaven.
That's right, that was God, right. Here's what Dr. Alexander said. He said, I was a speck on a beautiful butterfly wing. Millions of other butterflies around us. We were flying through indescribable colors, arcs of silver and gold light. Okay, that's not heaven, that's a Lunesta commercial. Hey, Doc, come by the show sometime. I'll give you some bad acid. You can visit hell. And yet, somehow, Dr. Alexander isn't even the only brilliant brain surgeon who's also a drooling idiot. Dr. Ben Carson is the director of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins and the first doctor to separate conjoined twins at the head. And he believes the Earth is 6,000 years old, and that homosexuality is akin to bestiality, and the Bible calls for a flat tax. He's half brilliant brain surgeon, half Tea Party dumbass. He doesn't just operate on conjoined twins, he is one. He's also someone who many Republicans are encouraging to run for president in 2016, and why not? There's no more attractive figure in the Republican Party these days than an anti-intellectual with an advanced degree. People like Antonin Scalia, Ted Cruz, and Bobby Jindal, who are accomplished scholars on the outside, and on the inside, a creamy layer of Michelle Bachmann. And what's with all the know-nothing doctors? People like Scott DeJarle and Paul Brown and Tom Coburn and their subspecialty, OBGYNs who know nothing about reproduction. Like Congressman OBGYN Ron Paul, who said abortion leads to euthanasia. Or Congressman OBGYN Michael Burgess, the guy who just last month said fetuses masturbate in the womb, wearing tiny raincoats. Or Congressman OBGYN Phil Gingrey, who when Todd Aiken introduced America to the concept of legitimate rape, remember that? When a woman is assaulted by a licensed, bonded, and fully insured rapist, backed him up and said, oh, all that adrenaline can cause you not to ovulate. Well, forget for a moment that's wholly untrue. Let's ask the more important question. Why are we electing so many gynecologists to Congress? If having your head between a woman's legs is a qualification for public office, then why not Congressman Michael Douglas? All right, that's our...
Guys, I tell you, I love Bill Maher. I look forward to him every week. Guys, once again, I don't know what happened. I think we got abducted by aliens or something. I mean, we're almost out of time again. So what we're going to have to do is, we're going to have to save the Carson, the Ben Carson. We're going to have to save him for next week. And now we're going to show you another cute clip called the Khan Academy, which is where the conservatives, all they want to do is have what they believe confirmed. So guys, we're going to show you this clip now, and this is a lot of fun. So Judy, let's have number 33.
I got a better future for me and my family.
I got a career helping others. One phone call changed my life.
I called the Khan Academy.
At the Khan Academy, we believe in you.
Heck, we believe in just about anything.
At the Khan Academy, you can be fully trained and ready for an exciting new career in the paranormal in as little as 8 months.
We know with our hearts and our minds, and because we have a dictionary, that you can't spell confidence without Khan. We looked it up.
That's why we work hard to build confidence in our trainees, because believing really is seeing. Square. Hit. Circle. Wow, hit. Star. That's amazing. You just went 10 for 10.
Really?
No. But you did get this one right.
Oh my God.
And that feeling you're having right now, your clients will feel that too. They'll remember the hits and forget the misses.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Why am I doing that?
Psychologists call this the confirmation bias, where you look for and find confirming evidence for what you already believe, and you ignore the disconfirming evidence. People want to believe, and your clients will too.
But your Khan Academy training won't stop at the classroom door. We go one step beyond with practical, real-world training.
I'm feeling a strong spirit coming through here from the other side, someone who's passed over, maybe an M name, N name. K, perhaps, no, oh wait, no, it's a L? Is it
oh my God, my Uncle Larry. He passed like 2 years ago.
Yes.
Does he have a message for me?
Hang on, he does. He says everything is gonna be okay, and that he loves you as only an uncle can.
Oh my God, there's no way he could have known that he was my uncle.
It really is that easy, so don't miss out on this amazing opportunity. Classes are starting soon, and financial aid is available.
We'll have one of our current students help you out with the lottery numbers.
I'm getting a 7.
The Khan Academy, because you may not know what the future holds.
And neither do we.
Guys, didn't they do a beautiful job? All right, now the last clip we're going to do, and I apologize, I don't know what happened to the time, but the last clip we're going to do is the Feel the Burn section of the show. So, Judy, can you get up the Feel the Burn section? There you go. And guys, this is a clip with Bernie, and it's called Keep It in the Ground. Now, what do you think Bernie would want to keep in the ground? So, Judy, let's have... let's have, oh, wait a minute, this is number 41, Judy. So let's have 41, please.
Witch hunt.
No, that's not 41.
How important is the African
This gentleman right here.
Here's the story.
There you go.
I've got 4 kids, and I got 7 beautiful grandchildren. And I believe that all of us have a moral responsibility to have the United States work with countries all over the world in making sure that the planet that we leave our children and our grandchildren is a planet that is healthy and a planet that is habitable. That's just the simple truth. That's a moral responsibility. And as Senator Merkley just mentioned, the debate is over. I'm on the Environmental Committee. I'm on the Energy Committee. I have talked to scientists all over the world. And the conclusion is climate change is real. Climate change is caused by human activity. Climate change today is already causing devastating problems in our country and around the world. And unless we move aggressively to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel into energy efficiency, into sustainable energy, the planet that we're going to be leaving our kids is something that we should be ashamed of. We do not have the moral responsibility to leave our kids a planet that is unhealthy and in some cases uninhabitable. And what the CIA and the Department of Defense tells us, that unless we get a handle on climate change, what you're going to see all over the world are peoples struggling over limited natural resources, clean water, land to grow their crops, and you're going to see more international conflict and more war and more death. This is a major, major, major planetary crisis, and we in the United States have got to lead the world, working with China, working with Russia, working with India, to transform our energy system. Now, obviously, given my political views, it is not a surprise that I disagree with Republicans on most issues. Not a surprise. But there is something special about this issue, and it speaks to the corruption of our campaign finance system. Republicans don't argue about the science regarding cancer or diabetes or heart disease. They look at the same evidence that all of us do and support good science. But somehow, when it comes to climate change, there are massive attacks on scientists who tell us the truth about climate change. And here is the political reality. That if Republicans today stand up and say, you know, I've listened to the scientists, I've read the reports, and climate change is real and we've got to do something about it. You know what happens the next day? Their funding from the Koch brothers and from other fossil fuel industries get cut. And they're going to be primaried in a Republican primary. And what I say to my Republican colleagues who reject the science, who refuse to work with us to aggressively transform our energy system, I say, worry less.
Guys, you know, just take a good look at this chart. This is what's called the hockey stick chart. And to help take a good look at it, and you could see what's happening with the world, guys. This is not a joke. Although the Republicans and the conservatives refuse to do anything about it. And that's the problem. And why? It's a political, ideological situation. It has nothing to do with science. It has to do with the greed of the Koch brothers. That's all. Plain and simple. Don't let anybody tell you anything different. You know, because these guys are willing to pay to trick the simple folk like Uncle Joey and Marty and our girlfriend that calls up all the time. And, you know, hopefully she'll get it. Santa Claus.